The provincial politics in Koshi is having to deal with twin problems. One relates to the flaring up of sentiments over the naming of the province, while the other relates to the tricky numerical bench strength of the parties in the assembly. Such dramatic and intense has been the Koshi politics that less than 2 months after his ouster, UML Parliamentary Party leader Hikmat Kumar Karki finds himself as the Chief Minister of Koshi once again. Since parties are averse to the idea of midterm election, Chief Minister Karki stands in a good position to pass the floor test this time. Good evening, I'm Sapsanamma. Let's begin with the headlines of the hour. Hikmat Kumar Karki appointed Chief Minister of Koshi Province. Oath of office and secrecy taken. Civil Service Day observed today. The government does not announce its official of the year. Civil Service Administration criticized of being politicized and corrupt. Torrential rain in Hong Kong leads to widespread flooding across the densely packed city, inundating streets, shopping malls and metro stations. Nepal bow out of the semi-final of the ICC Women's T20 World Cup Asia Region qualifiers. Dreams of reaching global qualifiers remains elusive. Preparations are underway to administer oath of office and secrecy to Hikmat Kumar Karki, the newly appointed Chief Minister of Koshi Province. The Supreme Court announcing its verdict yesterday on the writ filed against the appointment of erstwhile Chief Minister Uddhav Thapa had issued a mandamus directing the provincial head to appoint Hikmat Karki as the Chief Minister of Koshi Province. CPN-UML will now form the new government as per Article 168, Clause 3 of the Constitution. Chief Minister Karki, following his oath-taking, is also learned to expand his cabinet this evening itself. Karki had earlier served as the Chief Minister of Koshi Province for 174 days after his appointment on 8th of January earlier this year. The Civil Service Day has been marked by organizing several programs in the country today. Speaking at the program held at Singadarwar this morning on the occasion of Civil Service Day, Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal informed that the rights of the civil servants have not been cut in the Civil Service Bill. At the program, Premier Dahal handed awards to 40 excellent civil servants, as yesterday's meeting of the Council of Ministers had decided to award 40 government employees. However, the government has decided not to announce the government official of the year this time. The Civil Service Day is being celebrated in the districts as well by organizing various programs. Erstwhile Prime Minister Tanka Prasad Acharya had introduced the Civil Service Act on 6th of September 1956. To mark the introduction of the Act, Civil Service Day was first celebrated 18 years ago. The civil administration is defined as the permanent government. However, instead of prioritizing service seekers, the civil service administration is often criticized of being politicized and corrupt. It's time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. The question is, why has corruption become rampant at local levels? Your options are A, corrupt mentality, B, nexus of parties, and C, lack of monitoring. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Hong Kong residents woke to chaotic scenes today after a record-breaking rainfall drenched the Asian financial hub, triggering landslides and flash floods in the city. This comes as remnants from recent typhoon Haikui. Torrents of water gushed down slopes onto roads, vehicles were partially submerged on roads, and public transport services were suspended as authorities shut schools and asked workers to stay at home. All schools were suspended due to the extensive flooding and serious traffic disruption. Hong Kong's Weather Bureau issued its highest black rainstorm warning and said more than 200 millimeters of rain was recorded on the Hong Kong's main island, the Kowloon district, and the northern eastern part of the city's new territories since yesterday. The deluge killed 1 person and injured 83 others. The torrential rain was brought by Haikui, a typhoon that made landfall in the Chinese province of Fujian on Tuesday this week. Although it weakened to a tropical depression, its slow-moving clouds have dumped huge volumes of precipitation on areas still soaked by rain from a super typhoon a week earlier. New Delhi has been turned into a ghost town as G20 leaders began arriving in the Indian capital to attend a 2-day summit. A citywide lockdown was enforced on shops and traffic, mostly in central areas and within New Delhi's central administrative and business district in preparation for the summit. Tens of thousands of military and police personnel were also deployed across the capital to beef up security measures. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is hoping the summit, which runs over the weekend from tomorrow, will showcase his country's emergence as a major power. Deeper and more entrenched divisions over Russia's war in Ukraine risk derailing progress on such issues such as food security, debt distress, and global cooperation on climate change when the world's most powerful nations meet. If the Delhi meeting fails to produce a joint statement, it would be a first in the G20 summit history and potentially raise questions about the group's viability. Meanwhile, despite all the security provisions, hundreds of Tibetans staged a protest in New Delhi ahead of the G20 summit in the Indian capital today. Members of the Tibetan Youth Congress chanted slogans demanding that Tibet be discussed among the group of 20 leaders during the summit. However, Chinese President Xi Jinping is skipping the G20 summit and will be represented by the country's premier Li Qiang. Tibetans accuse China of illegally occupying their country and oppressing their community. China has ruled Tibet with an iron fist since troops took over the region in 1950. Beijing fears any unrest in Tibetan region could pose a threat to its rule in there. The government rejects criticism that it has repressed Tibetan religious freedom and culture, saying its rule has ended serfdom and brought development to a backward region. China's Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning has said no sanctions, containment or suppression can stop China's development in response to the US government's so-called investigation into Chinese telecom giant Huawei's latest phone. In what was believed to be a breakthrough, Huawei Technologies late last month launched a new flagship smartphone, Mate 60 Pro, which is powered by its own advanced Kirin chip. This has, however, led the US government to question, without evidence, the origin of Huawei's chip-making technology. To suppress Huawei's development, the US government has since 2019 restricted the company's access to chip-making tools essential for producing the most advanced mobile handset models. At a regular press briefing, Mao called the US investigation amounts to another example of politicizing economic, trade, scientific and technological issues. Britain commemorates first anniversary of Queen Elizabeth II's death today as King Charles marked the day, thanking the public for their support in his first year as monarch. In a short statement published today, the 74-year-old British head of state recalled the great affection for his mother, her life and public service. Queen Elizabeth was on the throne for a record-breaking 70 years and died at Balmoral, aged 96, after a period of declining health. Throughout her reign, she did not publicly mark her accession, as it was also the anniversary of her own father, King George VI's death in 1952. Elizabeth II's death was a seismic event in British life. For most Britons alive, the Queen was the only monarch and head of state they had ever known. During the 10-day official mourning period, tens of thousands of people queued for up to 24 hours to file past her flag-shrouded coffin as it lay in the state in Westminster Hall at the Houses of Parliament. Even more packed the streets of London and the route west to Windsor Castle for the state funeral, which was beamed around the world to a television audience of millions. Islamist militants have attacked a riverboat in northeastern Mali, killing at least 49 civilians. They also reportedly attacked an army camp, killing 15 soldiers, while around 50 militants are said to have died. The government has declared 3 days of national mourning. The Islamist threat has been growing despite claims by the military that Russian Wagner Group mercenaries are turning the tide of their campaign. The northern city of Timbuktu has been under blockade since the end of last month, and there have been several other recent attacks on transport. Militants reportedly attacked the boat as it was traveling on the river Niger from the town of Gao to Mopti. Militants also attacked an army camp in the Borem Circle in the Gao region. Mali has been ruled by a military junta since 2020. There was huge popular support for the junta when it seized power after mass protests against then-President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta. People had been angered by economic uncertainty, a disputed election and chronic insecurity.
Extremists have moved closer to the capital, Bamako.
At least 6 people have died and more than 6 were still missing after Storm Daniel swept across central Greece, triggering landslides, destroying roads and bridges and carrying away dozens of cars. Footage from Astritsa, near the central mainland city of Karditsa, showed rescue operations underway and streets completely swamped due to flood waters. In the town of Palamas, also close to Karditsa, dozens of people were trapped inside their flooded residences. The mainland port city of Volos, the surrounding mountainous Pelion area, and the cities of Karditsa and Tirkala were among the worst-hit areas. Since Tuesday, 820 people have been evacuated across the country, 750 of them in the Thessaly region. North Korean state media has said the country launched its first operational tactical nuclear attack submarine and assigned it to the fleet that patrols the waters between the Korean peninsula and Japan. In photographs released by KCNA, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and high-ranking officials were seen attending the launch ceremony of the submarine number 841. Kim said arming the Navy with nuclear weapons was an urgent task and promised to transfer more underwater and surface vessels equipped with tactical nuclear weapons to the naval forces. It was not immediately clear what missiles the new submarine would be armed with. North Korea has test-fired a number of submarine-launched ballistic missiles and cruise missiles that can be fired from submarines.
결사의 실천으로 받들어 나가는 군수 노동계급의 충성과 애국의 무진심과 열정이 있어 공화국 창건 75돌수라.
That is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.